Hey everyone, and welcome. Get ready to explore the world of OSINT, open source intelligence. Ever feel like there's this whole secret layer of information online, like something just beneath the surface? Well, OSINT is your key to unlocking it. Today we're taking a deep dive into the OSINT Handbook 2020, and let me tell you, this thing is packed with tools and techniques, almost too many to handle.
It can definitely be overwhelming.
It really can. So think of this deep dive as your treasure map. We're cutting through the clutter and going straight to the good stuff.
We're talking about changing how we access and understand information. And the best part is, it's all public if you know where to look.
Exactly. So first up, let's talk about something we found fascinating about people search power tools. This is where OSINT gets really interesting, maybe even a little spooky. We're talking about finding details about individuals, all from publicly available sources.
Think of it like connecting the dots in ways you never thought possible.
Okay, so the handbook lists a ton of people, search engines, and databases, but one that really jumped out at us was Spokeo.
Yeah, you've probably heard of it. It's got a bit of a reputation.
It's a scary one.
For good reason. Yeah. It pulls data from all over. We're talking social media, relative connections, property records, even estimated income. It builds these crazy detailed profiles.
So you could theoretically type in someone's name and find out where they live, what kind of car they drive.
Potentially even how much they make, yeah.
It's a little unsettling.
It can be.
Yeah.
But that's the thing about OSINT. It's about uncovering those hidden connections.
And it's not just about individuals, right? Businesses are using this stuff all the time.
Oh, absolutely. Think competitor analysis, due diligence, you name it.
So let's say you're thinking about investing in a company, or even just applying for a job there. You can use OSINT to go beyond the polished website, beyond the marketing spiel.
Exactly. Get a look at what's really going on.
And the OSINT Handbook 2020 is like a gold mine for this kind of business intelligence. You'll find tools and techniques that take you way beyond a basic Google search.
Oh, way beyond. We're talking next level stuff here.
Speaking of tools, one that caught my eye, social catfish. Remember all those online dating horror stories? People creating fake profiles?
Oh, yeah?
Catfishing, right? Well, social catfish is like this digital detective, helps you verify identities, combat misinformation, and with all the deep fakes and impersonation going around, it's more important than ever.
Essential, really.
Yeah.
You could almost call it a bodyguard for your online life.
Love that analogy. Okay, now for all you fitness fanatics out there, you won't believe this one, the Strava heat map.
Sounds harmless enough, right?
It does. So it's basically this map that shows popular running and cycling routes, all created from data from the fitness app Strava.
Wait for it.
Yeah, here's where it gets crazy. This heat map actually ended up revealing the locations and movements of military personnel in sensitive areas.
Talk about a real-life spy thriller.
Right. It just goes to show you never know what seemingly harmless data can reveal when it's pieced together. And that's the thing about OSINT. It's not just about finding the information. It's understanding those connections, drawing your own conclusions.
And that's where critical thinking comes in. Anyone can use these tools, but it takes a discerning mind to understand what they find.
Absolutely. And, speaking of digging deeper and really understanding a business, that's a perfect segue into our next section, business intelligence. If you're looking to get ahead in the corporate world, this is for you. So we've talked about uncovering those hidden connections, even peeking behind the corporate curtain a bit. But what about when you need something super specific, like really laser-focused information?
That's where specialized search engines come in.
These things are amazing.
Think of it this way. The regular internet, it's like this massive library.
Yeah.
Books everywhere. No real organization. Specialized search engines, they're like having a librarian who takes you straight to the exact shelf, the exact book you need.
I love that. And the handbook breaks these specialized search engines down into all sorts of categories. I mean, we're talking medical research, government documents, even stuff about charitable organizations.
There's a whole world out there.
There really is. So let's talk about a few that caught our eye.
One area that's just exploding right now is medical search engines. Imagine being a doctor or researcher who needs to stay on top of all the latest breakthroughs.
Talk about information overload.
Right. Medical journals, clinical trials, research papers, it's a lot.
It's overwhelming even thinking about it.
Exactly. So the handbook talks about this tool, Deep Aimed. It uses AI, artificial intelligence, to make medical research incredibly accessible.
Oh, wow.
It's like this super-powered search engine, but specifically for medical knowledge. No more wading through mountains of irrelevant stuff. You can find the exact study, the exact clinical trial data you need.
That is incredible. It's like having a team of medical librarians at your fingertips. Okay, now let's dive into something called gray literature.
Sounds kind of mysterious, right?
It does. What is that?
So gray literature is basically research and information that doesn't get published in those traditional academic journals.
Yeah.
Think government reports, technical documents, conference proceedings, that kind of thing.
Interesting.
It's super valuable, but really hard to find.
So where do you even start if you're looking for this gray literature? What do you have to go to, like a special library?
Well, the handbook actually gives us a great starting point: open access theses and dissertations. It's this database, constantly growing, tons of in-depth research on just about every topic you can imagine. We're talking about going way beyond those surface-level Google searches here.
It's like having access to the secret vault of academic research. Okay, now, let's switch gears a bit and talk about something I think is so important: charity and NGO research. I mean, we've all seen those heartbreaking commercials, right? Asking for donations, tugging at your heartstrings. But how do you know if those organizations are actually making a difference?
Such a good point. It's easy to get caught up in the emotion of it all, but really important to look beyond the public image.
For sure. So how do we do that?
Well, the handbook has a tool for that too: GuideStar.
GuideStar. Okay, so what does that do? Does it give organizations a rating or something?
Even better.
Yeah.
GuideStar gives you the inside scoop. We're talking in-depth financial information, program evaluations, even donor reviews, all for thousands of nonprofits. You can see exactly where your money is going, make a real informed decision about which causes to support.
Wow. It's like having a behind-the-scenes look at the charity world. Okay, let's get a little more, shall we say, technical for a moment.
Yeah.
For those who like to live on the edge of the digital world.
Time to venture into the unknown, huh?
A little bit. So the OSINT Handbook 2020 definitely doesn't shy away from the more advanced stuff. But it's written for all levels, so don't worry.
There's something for everyone.
Exactly. And one of the areas that always sparks curiosity, dark web research.
Sounds a little cloak and dagger, doesn't it?
It does. We're talking about those hidden corners of the internet, the stuff most people never even see.
It's important to remember the dark web isn't inherently good or bad. It's a tool.
Right.
But it can be really valuable. I mean, think about journalists trying to track down cybercrime rings. Yeah. Researchers investigating online trafficking, that kind of thing.
So how do they even access that?
The handbook mentions this tool called amplia, which is a search engine for the Tor network, the network that's often associated with the dark web.
Right, right.
And while getting into the dark web can provide some really valuable insights, you got to be careful.
Seriously careful, right?
Like incredibly careful. The handbook really emphasizes this anonymity, security, understanding the legal boundaries. It's not something to mess around with.
Definitely not for the faint of heart. Okay, let's shift gears again for a moment. Let's talk about web monitoring.
Staying ahead of the game.
Exactly. I mean, in today's world, things move so fast, it's crucial to stay on top of everything.
Yeah, absolutely, no matter what you do.
And the handbook has this whole section on web monitoring tools.
Oh yeah, you can set up alerts for specific keywords, track news sources, even monitor social media conversations, all in real time. It's amazing. The handbook talks about Feedly, great tool for collecting and organizing all your online information sources.
So it's like having this personalized news feed that cuts through all the noise and just delivers exactly what you need to know.
Exactly.
And you can create custom feeds for any topic you can imagine.
Any topic. It's a game changer, especially for researchers, journalists, anyone who needs to stay up to date on something very specific.
That's incredible. We've covered so much ground today, from basic people search to business intelligence to even the dark web. I mean, it's amazing how much information is out there if you know where to look. We have uncovered an absolute treasure trove of tools and resources today.
We have.
But I mean, tools are only as good as the person using them, right?
That's true with anything, I guess.
Exactly. So how do we make sure we're using all these OSINT techniques effectively, but also responsibly?
You're hitting on a really important point.
I feel like it's a big one.
It is. And it's actually something the OSINT Handbook 2020 addresses really well.
Oh, good.
It goes beyond just listing out tools. It's really about equipping you with the knowledge you need.
Okay.
To become a true OSINT investigator.
So we're leveling up from, casual treasure hunter to seasoned explorer now.
Exactly. Think of it that way, yeah.
Yeah.
It even gives you practical guidance on Well, everything.
Everything.
From setting up a secure workspace to how to protect your privacy while you're doing these online investigations.
Oh, that's smart.
It's crucial.
So it's not just about finding the information, it's also about protecting yourself in the process, which I never even thought about, but that's important, especially with all the stuff we just talked about in the last section.
Right. And it even goes into, legal stuff.
Okay.
Making sure you're not crossing any lines, staying on the right side of the law.
Right, because it can be a little, I don't know.
Gray area sometimes.
Very much so.
Yeah, totally. It talks about things like secure communication, data encryption, even those anonymity networks we touched on.
Oh.
One resource they mentioned that I found super helpful is Privacy International.
Privacy International. Okay.
It's a nonprofit,
Yep.
and they're all about protecting privacy rights globally.
Love it.
Yeah. And their website, it's a goldmine. Tons of information about surveillance, data protection, how to protect your digital footprint.
So it's like having a digital rights advocate right there in your back pocket.
Exactly.
Right.
And then for even more serious investigations where anonymity is super important,
Okay.
the handbook talks about secure operating systems like Tails.
Tails? What is that?
It's basically designed for privacy.
Yeah.
It leaves no trace of your activity.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, routes everything you do through that Tor network.
So it's like, what, a secret agent's laptop or something?
Pretty much. If you're working on something really sensitive or just, value your privacy, Tails is a good thing to know about.
Good to know. We've covered so much ground from the ins and outs of people search all the way to business intelligence and the dark web.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. It's amazing how much information is out there.
And it's growing every single day.
And will continue to grow, I'm sure. So as we wrap things up, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from this deep dive?
I want them to see that the possibilities with OSINT, they're truly limitless.
They are.
It doesn't matter if you're a journalist, an entrepreneur, or just someone who's really curious about the world. OSINT gives you this power to explore, to understand, to connect in ways you never thought possible before.
So true. And it's all about empowering yourself with the right knowledge and tools.
Absolutely.
And this OSINT Handbook 2020, it's just the tip of the iceberg, right?
Just the beginning. OSINT is constantly changing, evolving, so never stop learning, never stop being curious.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And who knows, maybe you'll make the next big OSINT discovery.
Happy investigating.
And that's a wrap on this deep dive into the world of OSINT. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and be sure to check out our next episode for more fascinating deep dives. Until then, happy exploring.